Welcome back to the Cutting Room Podcast with your host Damian King, the Mass Creative. Welcome back. I'm actually back here where I actually started. If you've been following the recent season, I've been doing all my episodes through via audio and recording. I've been editing all my old stuff, but I got Solomon right here, back where I started, and gave me my start.
Hey.
Solomon, good having you back and everything. And I got a new interview. I thought I'd go back to my roots and bring back an interview and come back where I first started. It feels like coming back home. It feels like a homecoming. But so I attended a pro wrestling event recently, FWW in Maywood, and it was an all women's wrestling event, and they were crowning their inaugural women's champion. And one of the talent that was competing that night, who I actually was very blessed to get the autograph from, and let's introduce her right now. SCP West Texas Women's Champion, RCW Women's Champion, SCP's 2021 Match of the Year, the Bruja Baddie, Gypsy Mac. Welcome to the Cutting Room Podcast.
Hello.
It's such an honor having you. I like to treat talent the way they should be treated, the way they want to be treated, with much respect. And thank you for coming on to the Cutting Room Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Pretty good. So, Gypsy Mac, the name, it kind of rung a bell. Is it inspired by Fleetwood Mac, the song Gypsy?
A little bit, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I really like Fleetwood Mac a lot. Gypsy's a song that I always thought was cool. I thought the name Gypsy is interesting, so I figured why not just make it my name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a fan as well. Not a huge fan, but I love the music. Obviously, the album Tango in the Night was probably my favorite album. So I was like, wait,
Probably one of their best ones.
yeah, for sure. Seven Wonders, the song, that one right there. It's a song that my friends know me for it to play like countless times. But yeah, great album, great artist. Obviously, Stevie Nicks, an intriguing voice. It lures you every time you hear Stevie Nicks' vocals. But
Oh yeah, she's great.
she's awesome. So I did my research to do this interview, and you grew up in Vegas, New Mexico, correct?
I did, yes.
Okay. And your family of five. You're the baby of, and I think all boys, right?
Yeah, I'm the only girl and I'm the youngest. So as you can imagine, I grew up getting beat up all the time by them.
That's probably where the pro wrestling was probably done in the early on in your life, right?
Oh yeah, like I remember vividly this one time me and my brother Ryan, shout out Ryan, we were wrestling outside because that was just our thing. We grew up watching it, and he picked me up and power bombed me just like on the floor, like the ground.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like maybe like 7 or 6. Yeah, he would always just beat me up and try wrestling moves on me.
So growing up in the school of hard knocks early on before even your training, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Me and my brother, like all the time, we'd be wrestling. My mom would get so mad at us, but we loved it.
So who was the person to put on WCW in your house?
Uh, Honestly, it was like my mom and my dad.
Mm-hmm.
They were both huge wrestling fans growing up. It like stems all the way back to my grandma on my dad's side. Like she would always have wrestling on. And funny story, my mom and my dad actually went to go watch Monday Night Nitro in San Antonio while my mom was pregnant with me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they remember what Nitro it was?
No, I wish they did, but I just like they just told me it was like a Monday Night Nitro and it was in San Antonio specifically.
Okay. You never seen the movie Saving Silverman, huh?
I have, yes.
Okay, so basically like Steve Zah's character was like watching a I think who was it? The artist that was like very in that movie, and he was in the womb while he was at the concert.
Was
So
it Neil Diamond?
Neil, yes, Neil Diamond, exactly. Thank you very much. Oh my God, my friends are gonna like it, man. Like, how do you not remember
That's
that?
me with wrestling.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
such a moment where you were like, I wasn't there, but I was present, and it was such a
Yes.
bonding moment, obviously for your parents and everything. And then look where you turned out. Now pro wrestler.
Yeah, look at me now.
Nice. So I'd like to get with every pro wrestler that I have on here, and I'm a huge fan of the sport, and I respect it with everything in my heart. You are only as good as where you learned it from, and this is where I like to bring in a certain name. And how's Seville doing?
Oh, damn. Seville's crazy.
Yeah.
He's good.
When and how?
Wow,
When
that
and
popped me. Oh my god.
yeah, I love this moment, and that moment that you just gave me, that reaction actually is what I live for, and I always try to do my best with doing my homework for these interviews. When and how did Gino come into your life?
So I met Gino in 2018. We actually met on Facebook.
Hmm.
I had like a hat, like a WWE hat, and I had like the WWE logo on my Facebook profile. I was just like a huge fan at the time. It was before I started training, and he popped up on like people you may know or something, and I was like, this guy's a wrestler. I was like, he's not like a WWE wrestler though, so like, what is he? What is this? So I clicked on his profile, and super intriguing. I didn't know indie wrestling was a thing, so I added him. We became Facebook friends. And yeah, we just kind of started talking about wrestling because
Mhm.
I didn't know indie wrestling
Was it
was, I just knew WWE and then I knew like TNA growing up. And then I knew like some kind of Japanese wrestling. I didn't know a lot about it. So I was very intrigued.
okay? And I'm assuming you guys probably bonded over both of your favorite wrestlers, one of your inspirations, but I know his favorite is the Undertaker.
Yes.
So you guys probably
And
bond.
yeah,
There's a bond over that as well. So your training. I understand that no one wanted to train you, correct? When you wanted to start.
yeah, so growing up in New Mexico, there's not a lot of wrestling, and there was two places that you could train in Albuquerque. One of them was like, I don't train girls, sorry. And I was like, all right. The other one kind of gave me the runaround, and then it was like kind of the same thing as like, oh, there's only like guys here, we don't train girls, blah blah blah. So I asked Gino, like, hey, where can I move to train? He dropped a few schools in Colorado, one in Utah. And one day he was like, you know what? Let me see what I can do. So he talked to someone that had a ring there in New Mexico and started his own school. And I was his first student.
Oh, so you're the first student. I didn't know that actually. That's awesome.
I'm his first student. There was a couple of other guys that started training with us. Shout out Jason Dredd, but he's retired. He unfortunately suffered a back injury from the military and stuff, so he doesn't wrestle anymore. There's another wrestler named Roland Still who also retired, so I'm the only one still going from my class.
And wow, that's unfortunate to hear for the talent that didn't wasn't able to continue. And but it's such a great thing that one of the students of Gino with Seville Alvarez is continuing the legacy, because I know he was trained through Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy out here in LA. Have you trained there?
Yeah, yeah, he trained at Santino's, and it's cool because he brought his Santino's, like what he learned there, like Santino's tough, like everything that he learned from Joey, he passed it on at his
Mhm.
school, which is really cool. So I got to train lucha
Mhm.
super early in my career, learned like the hard hitting style, got to learn everything.
Yeah, I believe their slogan from Joey the Superstar Chaos, give us your dreamer, we'll give us your wrestler. Am I correct? Or
Yes.
yes, exactly. So obviously a dreamer and then became a wrestler, and that's awesome. So back to Gino, what was probably the best advice that he gave you in all the training that he's given?
Gino, he loves to talk. So he says a lot of really good advice, but something that stuck with me forever is you can't quit because the day that you quit is the day that they're going to come looking for you. So you always hear the story of like, oh, so and so retired wrestling, a week later a big opportunity comes. Where's this guy? Oh, he's done. He's not wrestling anymore.
It's kind of like a picture I've seen like online when like it's a picture of somebody digging for something, and then like right when they were walking away, they were just one scratch away from reaching that other side of the hole. And yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
very true. Um, Influences in wrestling other than the Undertaker, who else influenced you?
Grew up watching a lot of Eddie. Grew up watching a lot of the Hardy Boys, Edge,
Mhm.
Christian. Chris Benoit was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. It's very unfortunate the events that happened to Nancy and his son,
Mhm.
but that was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and it really sucks because his craft was so good.
Yeah, I have a previous episode where I talk about what I would want to do with an Eddie Guerrero biopic. He's to me one of my he's my number one, and we're
Okay.
a couple days shy from the anniversary of his death, 19 years actually. Um, so that's something we share in common. Eddie Guerrero, obviously, Chris Benoit, and I talked about in that episode that if they were ever to make an Eddie Guerrero biopic film, that I think the industry would be like, we can't have that. We can't talk about Chris. I'm like, no, you need Chris in that film. He was a huge part of
Yeah.
wrestling, huge part of a person that inspires a lot of people. He was his best friend and everything. So the fact that you even mentioned him in your influences takes courage, and I'm very happy to hear that Chris was one of those influences. You actually had a AEW I'm sorry, AEW experience. You had a AEW dark match with Athena. Am I correct?
Yes, I did back in, I think, 2021. It's been a couple of years now, but I got the opportunity to wrestle Athena and it was great. She's amazing. She hits hard as hell.
Yeah.
But
And
I
some
loved
people. Yeah. Exactly. What I want to get into is how did that opportunity come about? Because everyone likes to talk about the match, but there's a lot more things going on backstage and how to get that opportunity. How did it come about? Like, were you contacted by somebody, or how did it come about?
Yeah, one day I just woke up and checked my email and there was an email for an opportunity to do extra work at AEW in Colorado. And I actually was living in Vegas
Hmm.
at the time. No, where I was living in Albuquerque at the time,
Hmm.
but it was in Colorado, so I had to drive to Las Vegas, New Mexico, spend the night there because it's a little bit closer, and then drive that day to Denver. But yeah, you get there and you just kind of hope for the best. There's nothing set in stone like, hey, you're an extra, so you're gonna get a match or you're gonna get something. Like, you don't know.
Hmm. Okay, and then that's AEW. Did you actually, first of all, did you have a good experience? Were you treated well backstage?
Oh
How?
yeah, AEW's locker room. Well, every locker room that I've been to has been great. All of like the upper echelon promotions, like everyone's super friendly, super down to earth. It is chaotic because it's TV,
Hmm.
but that's kind of like to be expected if you're in the industry. Like, it's always going to be chaos in the wrestling business. But yeah, I was treated amazing. Athena's great. Our ref was great. I actually got the opportunity to talk to Christopher Daniels and explore his mind a little bit on
Hmm.
anything that I could change. So that was a really cool experience.
Oh man, the Fallen Angel. That's man, years of experience. The fact that you were able to share the same room with him, obviously, it's a huge honor. Anybody that doesn't know, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels was the one that really put indie wrestling on the map when indie wrestling wasn't a thing back in his day. And talking about Christopher Daniels, you grew up a TNA wrestling fan. Am I correct?
I did. Yeah, I did watch Spike TV a
Oh, okay.
lot as a kid, and TNA was something that would show on there. And Christopher Daniels was one that I loved, Samoa Joe, AJ
Mhm.
Styles. And then, you got Jeff Hardy and all those like WWE guys that started coming over. So it
Mhm.
was really cool to see a different style than what WWE was producing at the time.
Do you remember your first TNA match that you watched or pay per view that came across? How did it come about?
I was just watching Spike one day. I couldn't tell you what. I'm pretty sure it was an AJ Styles match because I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh my god, this boy is so handsome. Who is
Hmm.
this?" So like he caught my eye right away, and then like the way that he moved in the ring, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And there's six sides to it. It's very different.
Hmm.
But I don't remember the match. I do remember though the beautiful people came out and I was like, "Oh, I love these girls. Like, they're so like pretty, but yet they're like beating ass in the ring." And they called them knockouts. And I just thought like the women's division was so refreshing
Hmm.
on TNA as well.
That's what TNA provided back in the day, and then to this day. But at that moment, she's talking about, yeah, TNA was for sure it was an alternative. Like the six sided ring, like she mentioned, the Styles Clash. The first time you see that Styles Clash finish
That was
from
crazy.
It's like
What are they doing?
what?
Yeah.
Like the final X match, the
Oh,
one
the X Division match with
The
the
X
yeah,
Division
that's
alone.
crazy too.
It's so funny. I think it's the first time I talk about it on the show. The first time I was exposed to it was through my best friend, who was at the time a huge TNA fan, but I was diehard WWF E at the time. He's like, "Hey, you got to check out this company." I'm like, "Oh yeah, put it on." And you watch it, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like when somebody shows you that indie band that you didn't hear of, and then they put you onto it, and you're kind of like, no, I don't like it because you didn't find it, and it was so different though. But a lot of experience, a lot of those talent that she talks about are now huge veterans. It's so much experience, and it was a great alternative for the time. What do you think about the TNA Impact product now? Do you keep up with it?
I keep up with it a little bit. I like to keep up with everything because, my goal is eventually to work for all of these promotions or eventually to get a contract with
Mm-hmm.
one of them. I'd love to work for TNA, AEW, WWE. They're all amazing. I think TNA is doing a really good job on like kind of turning where they were at because there for a while I didn't really pay attention to it, if I'm being honest. But over the last couple of years, it seems like the storylines that they're doing and like the matches and the product and the wrestlers that they're putting out, it's really eye-catching now.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that TNA does so well, and that they were able to produce, and I think that might fit the character of the Bruja Batty, theme matches, like the Final
Mhm.
Deletion, and then WWE had the Firefly Funhouse. Do you see a Misfortune Teller match type of theme in your future, that you would have some type of theme that goes with you? Do you see something that along the lines in your career?
I've never actually thought about that before. That's actually really something that I have to ponder on now. I
Uh,
like that idea because, yeah, I like how Bray Wyatt was like one that I really started watching again when I got back into WWE,
mhm.
and his character development throughout the years was insane, all the way to that match that he had with John Cena, which it's such a different style match. They didn't even physically wrestle,
No, it was a
and it was crazy.
it was a production, like
Yeah.
especially what Matt Hardy does in one of her influences. She talks about the Hardy Boys. Matt Hardy had the Final Deletion match, and he shot it out of the Hardy compound, and it was a production. And that's where the Cutting Room Podcast comes in. Is that I try to educate people on how films and pro wrestling are hand in hand, and matches like the Undertaker's graveyard match with AJ Styles, that's such a production match, and it's storytelling at its best. They're not
Hmm.
even in a ring, but they're
No,
telling a story, and
exactly.
that's something that when I was doing my homework for this interview and watching your matches and seeing your promos, I'm like, well, she's the she's the Bruja Baddie. She's a witch in herself. We should have a misfortune teller match. And you've actually done hardcore matches in your career. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've done a couple of them.
How what goes into preparation for that? Like, what do you have to do prior to that? If you don't mind me asking, breaking kayfabe. How do you prepare yourself for those types of matches?
Well, the crazy thing, my first hardcore match I had, it was with Beast, who's a wrestler out here in Vegas. I didn't know it was a hardcore match until maybe the day before. I got booked for Party Hard Wrestling, which is a promotion in Arizona I've been wanting to work for since I first got into the business. And they're like, hey, Jamie, who's one of my best friends, Jamie Senecal, she pulled out. She can't do the show, but she vouched for you if you want to do it. So I took the booking. Come to find out, it's a hardcore match. Um, I just kind of said, let's go. Jeff Hardy was one of like my influences growing up. If he can do it, I can do it. I was low key a little bit scared. I'm not gonna lie, but kayfabe aside, everything. I love Beast. He's one of my really good friends, so I knew he was gonna take care of me, and I just said, let's do the damn thing. Like I'm down to take whatever, give whatever. I just want to go viral if I can, and we actually ended up going viral. I got stapled in the nether region, if you would, in
Oh
that
man.
match.
Eesh. I
Yeah,
actually, yeah. Going into that, you also do a lot of intergender matches.
I do.
Uh, do you prefer intergender or competing with another female?
Um, I would say early in my career, the first 2 years, I would prefer intergender matches. And I think it's because being a female, you're you're not as strong and you're still kind of learning the ropes and you're not as agile as the men. So you have a hard time with other females, especially being green, not being able to like help you with certain moves and base you and do stuff that you need to. So I thought I was more comfortable wrestling intergender. But now that I'm in my own and I'm a lot stronger and like I know how to do a lot more in the ring, I'm actually having fun wrestling girls a lot more.
Okay, yeah. And it's so funny. No, well, not funny. What's pretty weird is that a lot of things could happen in a year.
Mhm.
Today is the year anniversary of your injury. Am I
A
correct?
little bit, a week shy, but yeah, we're getting pretty close to it.
How did that injury happen?
I was training with Gino. So I was back in Albuquerque. It was Black Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
I'm training with Gino. We train outside. It's November. It's cold, first of all. I'm doing a baseball slide in between his legs to, I think you saw the pump handle Uranagi that I hit on J Rod.
Mhm.
So I was trying to get into that move, and he was like, "Oh, let's do a baseball slide. Let's practice it." So I did it like 4 or 5 times. I cleared his legs, hooked it, easy. Sixth time comes around, and I'm like, I'm kind of tired. And the voice in the back of my head is like, "Hey, maybe you should take a break." And Gino's like, "Let's run it again." And I was like, "Whatever. Yeah, let's go." Run, go in between his legs. I catch his ankle with my left ankle, and my leg just snaps.
Oh man, how much time did you take off from that after that?
What do you mean? Like,
Like the recovery
how
time
long
after
was I
that?
out?
Yeah.
I was out for 6 months.
And all these matches that you've had recently is pretty much your comeback, right? What you because you came in back in the new year. This
I
past.
came back in May. So my first match back was FSW against Brittany Brooks. And it was May, I think like May 4th or May 6th, something
Mhm.
like that. So yeah, everything that I've been doing in the last couple of months has just been in the last 6 months. I've done 50 something matches already.
How do you prepare yourself after an injury like that? Coming back mentally, what's going on through your mind?
Mentally, I was angry. I felt like right before I was injured, I was starting to get more opportunities, being like new to Vegas. Stuff was finally rolling for me. I was getting out in California a lot more. I was actually on target to win a title before I broke my legs. So I was very mad. And I felt like I just had to come back a different beast. So got in the gym. I did my physical therapy. I just made my comeback like the biggest thing I could do. And I came back a lot stronger, a lot fitter. My move set was different. The way that I moved in the ring was different. My character, like, I just wanted to prove to everyone, like, hey, just because I'm injured, that doesn't mean I'm going to come back worse. I'm going to come back better and hungrier. And everyone else has to step up their game now.
Nice, nice. So we're moving into. Well, actually, no. I want to go back to something that you mentioned. Is when you moved. Originally from New Mexico. There wasn't much of a pro wrestling scene over there, right? Which was caused the move to Las
Yeah.
Vegas. Because now you're from Las Vegas, correct?
Yeah. I live in Las Vegas now.
Oh, okay, okay. When you were living in New Mexico, did people go over? How far is Vegas, New Mexico, from all the Breaking Bad scenes, the places that Breaking Bad was shot at? Was that very
Breaking
close?
Bad is shot in Albuquerque.
Hmm.
So from Las Vegas, New Mexico to Albuquerque, that's like about an hour and a half. It's not too far.
Have you ever visited any of those places?
I've been to the house. So actually, one of my exes, his friend, his neighbor is the Breaking Bad house.
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's pretty
Yeah, so it
crazy.
was pretty
Small
cool.
world.
So I was like kind of always by the house all the time whenever we would go to his friends. And the lady that lives at that house is very crazy about her property. Like she sits outside all day, like, and will yell at people if they come and take pictures
Mm,
at her house, which I kind of get it, but like, lady, like you
mm.
live in the Breaking Bad house, it's gonna happen.
Was the Nightmare on Elm Street owner like that with you when you went to go visit that house?
Ah, oh my god, I can't believe you found that. That's crazy. No, the owner wasn't. If they were inside, they don't care because I was able to take a couple of pictures and check it out and stuff, and like no one came and told me anything.
Mm. I'm sorry. This is gonna be actually out of my questions, but I have to say it now before I forget it. Who would win in a match? Jason, Freddy Krueger, or Michael Myers in a triple threat? Or Ghostface, actually. Fatal four way.
Fatal Four Way, damn. You know, I love my horror movies, and I love Ghostface, but I'm gonna have to give it to Jason.
Why? What would be his approach to the match? What would get him? Why would you think that?
I feel just because like Jason just like never really dies. I know like neither does like Michael, like
Mm.
technically, but
Yeah,
damn. Or you know what? I
Freddie
might
would
have
take
to
the
give it
first
to
fall.
Michael.
You're right, actually. Freddie would be the one to be eliminated. If it was an elimination style match, yeah, he'd be out first because he
I
is.
think the final two is Michael and Jason. And now I might change my answer to Michael just because Michael's like a mental patient. Like
Mhm,
he doesn't care. Like Jason shows like a little bit of like, oh, I care in some of the movies, like he has
mhm.
like those second thoughts, loves his mom. Michael's just crazy. He
Yeah,
killed the janitor in the Rob Zombie one. Like, come on, that
I
was his
haven't, and
friend.
that's actually the one I haven't seen.
Oh
I,
my god, really?
yeah, but I'll tell you a
Oh,
movie. I'll actually tell you a movie I did see when doing my research for this interview, which I've never seen. If I have, you would have never mentioned it. Is Grind still your favorite movie of all time?
I love Grind. Oh my god. Yeah, it's definitely in there. That's one of my favorite movies, especially from my childhood. I used to watch Grind all the time. Grew up a skater kid. I used to skate. I was a heavier set girl though, so I wasn't very good at it.
So I had never heard of it actually ever, and I'm like,
Really?
never before you would have mentioned it. I was like, okay, Grind. Wow, can we check it out? Um, Hidden Gem. I
Thank you.
was
Okay, I was gonna ask you what did you think?
Hidden Gem. Okay, first of all, I didn't grow up a skater. My
Okay.
all-time favorite skater movie is Lords of Dogtown.
Yes.
Oh, the World with Pride, man! Like all those movies, that movie exactly is like my all-time favorite scary movie. But Grind, I started watching. I'm like, okay, I could tell what era it was shot in. I'm like, okay, that's the guy from the OC. I've seen this guy, I think, in another movie. But then I think the guy from Dazed and Confused, two people actually from no, yeah, the guy from Dazed and Confused that plays Donnie is the owner of the skateboard shop. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in there, and then obviously Bam Margera comes out. I think a young Ryan Sheckler is in the movie.
Yes, little baby Ryan Sheckler. Oh my god, he's so tiny.
Not only that,
Tom
but
Green is in the movie.
who?
Tom Green.
Oh yeah, he is actually. He is Tom Green. Obviously, Road Trip. Freddie Got Finger. I think. Yeah, I wasn't a huge
Yep.
fan of Tom Green in its or even Superstar. Superstar, he was in that as well as one of the football players. But the music, the
The
music,
soundtrack to Grind is one of the best soundtracks ever.
Simple Plan, Trapped. And there's a connection to wrestling and Trapped. Is Trapped Headstrong was used for Bad Blood theme in 2003. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but then watching this movie, I'm like, okay, I could see, okay, this is good. It takes a while for me, at least for a first time viewer. I was like, okay, it's all right. But then I'm like, oh, wait, there's something here. There's something here. The soundtrack is awesome. The I'm Just a Kid, the music that was provided by Trap. Another thing that I kind of noticed is that it's about a guy that wishes he had the rub from somebody in the industry. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I think that's it's kind of mirrors your career, is that nobody wanted to give you a chance, but Gino did. He took a chance on you. He believed in you. And usually in the industry, sometimes that's kind of what it takes, is somebody to believe in you. And if you haven't seen Grind, go check it out. It's available on YouTube for free. Great watch. If you grew up in that era, it's going to be one of those movies that, wow, this existed. I didn't even hear about it. But if you grew up watching it, it's actually, there's something there. It's a rock that you need to lift, and you wouldn't expect what's under there, because there's a message in there. It's about
Oh yeah,
chasing.
it has like such a good heartfelt message about it. And I think that's why I love it, because it's like chase your dreams, like no matter what it is.
Chasing from they're from Chicago, and they travel all the way to Santa Monica for the skate show, right? And
Yeah, they're
that's
trying to follow Jimmy, who's
mhm.
like the main skating guy, and they're
And
just
yeah,
like
you're right.
trying to like,
Actually,
hey dude, watch my tape.
watch my tape, watch my demo,
Yep.
or hear my demo, or watch my match, or check this out. That's what it is, and that's usually pro wrestlers that are going through the indie scene. That's what they chase. Just a little bit of chance that somebody might see. It's that little bit of hope that might make your career and make you successful, and make your dream come true. But you mentioned Jimmy. Actually, you're right. There's two members of Dazed and Confused that were in that, because Jimmy was the guy that played the main character in Dazed and Confused as well. There's a little bit of connection there as well that I noticed. Um,
Because they have Sweet Lou, who's like very dazed and
he
confused,
was
like
Matthew
yep,
McConaughey, and you noticed that as well. Yeah, exactly.
yep,
Hey, all right, all right, all right.
all right. Yep.
So another movie that I want to talk to you about, and I want is going to go into a question. Chamber of Secrets. Why do you watch that like periodically? Out of all the ones that you know that are able to be chosen, that one. What is it
I
about it?
just I love it. I think it's because the like it's starting to get hotter, in Harry Potter, like,
Mm-hmm,
oh, there's like stuff going down,
mm-hmm,
and there's like this creepy chamber, who's this Tom Riddle guy, like,
mm-hmm,
I think there's just so much in Chamber of Secrets that gets you, because like the first one, it's slow, it's the first movie. The
mm-hmm,
second one, it really just like draws you in, and
mm-hmm,
I think there's such like a character arc for Harry in that movie, because he's like shy little like wizard
mm-hmm,
boy in the first one, and the second one
mm-hmm.
he has to get shit done, you know?
I'm a huge fan of Prisoner of Azkaban. That one,
Prisoner of Azkaban was good too.
oh my god, Alfonso Cuarón directed it. Oh my god! But then you're right. In Chamber of Secrets, we hear about the four founders of Hogwarts, and it's like, whoa, wait, hold on. It's a huge like backstory. It adds backstory, is what Chamber of
Yes.
Secrets has going on. Um, but yeah, speaking about going back to the horror movies, you actually have a tattoo of a character on your arm. Am I correct? Which you showed me at the show.
My ghost face tattoo.
There it is. Are you how did Scream come into your life? When did you first see that movie?
I've been watching horror movies probably as long as I've been watching wrestling.
Okay, so they go hand in hand.
Oh yeah, my cousin Adrian, he wasn't into wrestling, but he was like my cousin that got me into skating and like grind. He showed me grind. He got me into like the music that I'm into, the movies that I'm into. So he would always just make me watch movies, and my mom would always watch movies too. She was a huge horror movie person, and she just like didn't really like care what I watched. She
Mhm.
kind of just let me watch whatever as long as I was watching it with her. And I'm pretty sure she put on Scream when it came out. I was like 4 when it came out. So I probably watched it when I was like 6 or 7.
Do you have a favorite?
And I was infatuated with it. Like, I just thought Ghostface was so cool, and I loved Billy. I blame Billy, honestly.
Oh, okay. I'm a huge Matthew Lillard fan. Honestly, I'm
Okay, yeah, Stu though.
dude.
Stu is
Stu
also
Macher.
great.
He's like, oh my god. He's like, hey, come to my fiesta. Like all his, he Matthew Lillard oozed '90s. I love him,
He
and
is. Oh, yes.
he oozed '90s. Everything about him in that movie was like, live her alone. Like all those lines are iconic. He spit iconic lines back to back to back in that movie. Like, and
Okay.
do you have a favorite Scream movie specifically?
The first one.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
actually
the first one, hands down.
the first one. Nothing touches it. The second one was cool. To me, the third one, I don't know why people are like, "Wow, really?" The third one, but
The third one, is that the director?
exactly. Roman Bridger.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's her
Yes.
brother. Actually, when it's revealed. Sorry, spoiler alert. You haven't seen Scream. You shouldn't be on this podcast because you need to go watch it. You have to see Scream 3, all of them, back to back to back. Are you excited or have you heard about the new Scream movie that was announced with the return of Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox?
Like the newest one that just came out.
No, that's coming out. They're doing another one because they did one without
So
them.
see, I liked where they were going with the other ones, and then they fired Homegirl.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, well,
They
what
ended
are we
up,
gonna do
I
now?
think they ended up in New York. It was kind of like that
Yeah,
Jason
that
Goes to
was
New
the
York
last
thing.
one.
I'm like, I'm not watching it. If it's not Woodsboro, I'm not watching it.
The New
Like,
York one was kind of cool because it reminded me of, is it Jason Goes to Manhattan?
that one, yeah. I think I never gave it the chance. And there's, yeah.
It's funny, but
Is it?
I'm so bad with movies. Like I will watch any movie and give it a chance as long as it's like produced well. Like the whole like Winnie the Pooh horror, I couldn't do that. But
No.
like any classic scary movie, I will give it the benefit of the doubt and watch it.
Have you been to the Halloween house? Since you've been to the Nightmare on Elm Street house?
I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't.
It's
Yeah, I
I
want
think
to.
it's out here in Pasadena. I think if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Next time you're out here in LA, I know it's already past Halloween time. I haven't been as well, but I've been to the American Pie house. Uh,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I've been there. Actually I do this thing where I if I'm on a trip, I go visit or I go look up the city and I'm like, is there any place that has been filmed there that I could go to? I've been to the Sandlot house, the American Pie house. I've been to the Boy Meets World house, the exterior. Um, but yeah, I love going to film spots. Obviously the Fast and the Furious house. But yeah, when
Do you
I
like the
saw that,
Lost Boys?
which one?
Do you like the Lost Boys?
She hit it on the note. I just recently saw it for the first time 2 weeks ago. Fully,
Oh my god.
fully. Oh my god! He's like they're just noodles. They're just noodles. Everything. I should have watched that movie like 20 years ago. Honestly, like
It's so iconic. It's so good. If you ever go to Santa Cruz, everything's filmed there. I love
mhm.
the boardwalk. I've seen the
You've been
house.
there.
I've seen the bridge.
Oh my god! That's
Yeah,
actually my
I've seen it
like.
all.
There's 2 trips that I'm doing, and that's the second one. And I was like, I gotta go. And it's on the way. It's on the way to San Francisco, right? It's like a little bit
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it's
Yeah.
like in between, like you can hit it
Mhm,
if you're driving there from like SoCal.
mhm.
I love Santa Cruz. It's one of my favorite spots. Like Lost Boys aside, I just love the vibe there. It's so cute. When I'm rich and famous, I'm getting a house on the beach in
Okay.
Santa Cruz.
Or even right there in the cave. Like build your house
Yeah,
within the cave,
I'll do that because I'm rich and famous. I can do whatever I want.
right? And then have Keith Sutherland like dress up the way he did in the movie. Like obviously, such an iconic role for Keith Sutherland. He had this whole style directed by. Actually, we have a movie that was directed by Joel Schumacher, Batman Forever, which was a movie he did after that. It's
Oh,
actually
I didn't know that.
he's actually one of my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite films, Batman Forever, and directed by Joel Schumacher. And I didn't see this movie, The Lost Boys, till way after, and I regret it. It's sometimes you're kind of introduced to things late, but you appreciate it a little more later on when you do see it. But we're
Well,
gonna
I'm glad that you got around to it.
find yeah. Let's get back into the wrestling. I've did my homework and checked out some of your pro wrestling matches. One of my favorites that you have had was with Sierra. Do you recall that match?
I That's one of my favorite matches. Like when people ask me what matches do you like, it's that one and then Delilah Doom at Santino Bros. Those are my top two.
Okay, hold me on to that one. If I don't bring it up, remind me because I want to talk about the Sierra match.
Okay.
Crowd engagement. That crowd was behind you guys.
That crowd was crazy. It was my first time in North Dakota.
Mhm.
Never wrestled there before, and there was probably over 1,000 people because of the way that it was set up. It was in between like an apartment complex,
Mhm,
which like had lofts
mhm.
too. So there was like also like a bar and like other restaurants. There was like a hockey arena right behind us, and
Mhm.
then all of these apartments. So I would look up and there would be people in their balconies like watching. Like the crowd was so loud for that match.
When I was watching that match, I was like, "Wait, was this by the Hollywood Red Line station by the W?" The setup felt like kind of like that downtown Hollywood thing, but then I was like, "No, you're right, North Dakota." I'm like, "This is such a hot crowd. It's huge." It felt like WCW's pay per view that they would do with the bikers. Do you remember? Was it Wild
The
Hog?
Sturgis rally one?
That's Stampede. I think
Okay.
when they had all the bikers, they had nothing but motorcycles around. It felt like it was outside. It felt so real, and their match was incredible, hard hitting. Um, what was your probably? I kind of noticed during your matches, other than that one, you do this little kind of like taking out the trash. Where did that come? Did you get
Easy
inspiration?
work.
Like easy, slight work. It's slight work.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Did it just come natural during a match? And
It
it's
just came naturally. Yeah, like I don't know why, especially after like the I'll do my ass drop in the corner
mhm,
where I'll set him up in the ropes and I hit
mhm.
him with my butt. I'm just like easy work. It's time to end it now.
Nice. It's time to go home.
Yeah.
One of the matches, and I don't like to bring the mood down, but one match that I felt like was a rough night at the office for you was probably with Jordan Blue. Do you remember that match?
Yeah, I do. It was, I love Jordan. She's great. Just different styles. I think that's when you kind of have these matches that aren't, oh my God, that was such a good match. Like me and Sierra, we have a very similar style. Like we both like the hard hitting, that like full contact. Like we like to beat each other up.
Mhm.
And with Jordan, she's very more on like the technical, slower side of things. And I think that's maybe why our chemistry wasn't as good.
When I was watching that match, yes, all the points that you made are absolutely correct. Something I noticed when I was watching them. Another thing is, it was just a dead crowd. You guys didn't have a
Yeah,
you guys didn't have a
that's
lot to
the
work
other
with.
thing.
Um, when dealing with that, it takes a lot of courage to do what this talent does to go out there, put out your all. How do you deal with tough crowds or when they're just not giving it to you, or even when it was just like you've wrestled in front of many people, but in that specific match, there was probably no more than a couple people that I could count on my hand. How do you deal with that? What goes into a pro wrestler's mind to get over that, to still give a good show and go out there what you went out to do?
For me, I doesn't matter how big the crowd is, whether it's one person or 1,000 people. I'm still gonna give it my all. I'm still gonna go out there and have a good match because this is what I do. This is my life. And even if I post it later for content, you're going to see like, oh, she doesn't really care because there's not a lot of people here. Like that one person is still paying money to see you wrestle. If it's for content, maybe 1,000 people are going to see it later. So I feel like it doesn't matter the size of the crowd. At the end of the day, you should still give it your all. I started wrestling during the pandemic, so there was no crowds.
And a wrestler actually feeds off of the crowd. They need that. And it's very hard. Even when there's no crowd, you have to somehow figure out what am I telling in this story? It's like making a film that no one's gonna go see, but you gotta still tell the story. And even though a lot of people didn't hear about grind, there's still a message there, and that's what you guys delivered that match. But we'll go to shift over to another match. The first match that I was able to see you in live was actually at the Future Women's World Wrestling um, event in Maywood with J Rod. You guys put on such a great match, and it was such an honor to see you. You're a name that has come up many times when I'm trying to scroll through. I'm very new to the indie scene. It was really my second indie show ever, and I was very blessed that all those women that competed that night, including Gypsy Mac, are very elite. They give their everything. They really are the future of women's wrestling in the industry today. Um, but we'll shift over back to Eddie Guerrero and your inspiration. You actually have taken a picture in front of the mural in El Paso, correct?
Yes.
How was that? Or where were you? Why were you in El Paso at the time?
I was in El Paso for a wrestling show. I actually got the opportunity to wrestle on, it was like a mixed tag match. So it was 4-on-4. It was Colorado versus El Paso.
Hmm.
Technically, it was like Mexico because everyone that I wrestled on the other team was all from like Juarez and across the border. So I got to wrestle like an actual lucha style match and show, like, because they do lucha shows out in like Arizona or like Colorado and stuff, but it's a whole different ballpark when you're wrestling so close to Mexico because it's so traditional and they do things so different. So it was really cool to go see this like mural and like pay my respects to like Eddie and his whole family and then have this like really cool match out in El Paso where I had to do like the lucha.
Do you have a favorite Eddie Guerrero match?
There's a few. Uh, One of my favorites that I probably watch at least every couple of months is him versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc.
Okay, yeah, and I've talked about that match on this episode. Um, have you ever seen The Phantom?
No,
It's a movie. Do you know who Billy Zane is?
no, I don't.
Did you ever see Titanic?
Yes,
Do you remember the Cal, the future husband of Rose? He
yes.
played a superhero actually. And his name was the Phantom. That's where Rey Mysterio got inspiration for his gear.
Oh, that's really cool.
If you ever get the chance to check out The Phantom with Billy Zane, it's a movie I would recommend to you. And it's where the gear, the famous gear, it's so famous. Like Rey
So
Mysterio,
iconic.
oh my god! And even just Eddie coming out, Eddie hair dripping down, cruiserweight title hanging over his shoulder. And it's such a heel move when he does that. Roman also has done it, but such a great moment. I was actually blessed enough to see Eddie wrestle twice. One of them, the first time I ever saw him live was SummerSlam '03 in Arizona when he was defending the U.S. title against Benoit and Rhino.
That's really cool.
And then got to see him at the Staples Center when he bled practically his whole body against JBL.
I think like I watched that match when I was a kid, and me and my roommate just rewatched it
Mhm.
not that long ago, and oh my god, how did he keep going?
Because it ended in
That
a
match was
DQ.
insane.
It ended in a DQ, and the chair shot happened pretty early on.
Yeah, like that's what's the craziest part about it is that chair shot happens and there's like a puddle of blood and the match goes for like another like
They
10
they
minutes.
ended in obviously the chair shot. If anybody who hasn't seen it, it was for the WWE Undisputed title that Eddie was holding at the time, and JBL hit him with a chair shot, and then and I'm not gonna mention like what goes beyond it, but obviously bled, and oh my god, drips, everything, and
Insane.
they stopped the match, but they kept going. Eddie is such a master of knowing the crowd, and it's something that you do as well. You read the crowd so well. One of the moments that I noticed, I'm like, oh, you know what? She has it. If it was something you learned from Gino himself, thank God to Gino that he knows how to teach the future of pro wrestling today. Something that I've noticed is that you engage with the crowd when you're working heel and you got the baby face in even just a sleeper hold. That crowd quiets down and you shout out like, "Oh, you ain't talking now, huh?" Like I've noticed that you love to get that reaction and something you're so good at, and it's something that being a heel. Some people say, "Oh, it's easy being a heel." Not everyone can do it, and that's
No.
something that Gypsy Mac does so well in her matches.
Thank you.
Going back to Eddie in El Paso, while you were over there, and obviously there's one in Vegas now, and I have to ask the famous question: In and Out or Whataburger?
I think I might get a lot of hate for
Oh
this,
my god, I know where she's going with this.
but overall, I'm gonna have to say Whataburger.
Yes.
Don't come for me, guys. I'm sorry.
What is it?
Sorry.
I don't get it. Why everyone gets so like, oh my god, like Whataburger just has better options. I don't know
They
why.
do. Like, they have better options. They have better fries.
They have
What are the
fries.
fries at In-N-Out?
Oh my god, I can't get it. Everyone, I think I had Brittany Brooks on here prior, and she's from Arizona, and obviously, like if you're in Arizona, there's only Whataburger. I don't think I think she mentioned she didn't like it, or she has never tried it, or I think, but it's I don't get why people. I don't get the fight. I think
Also, in New Mexico, Whataburger has green chili doubles. You can't touch that. Like green chili
I gotta go to New
all the way.
Mexico. I gotta go to New Mexico.
Dude,
Oh man, I gotta go. Also, going back to El Paso, did you try Chico's Tacos?
I didn't get the chance to. It's so hard to do so much stuff when you're traveling for wrestling
Yeah.
because most of the time I drive the day of or fly in
Mhm.
and I get there like maybe a couple of hours before I have to be at the venue. So I have to like pick and choose what I want to do.
Okay. Okay.
But next time I'll have to do that.
Perfect. Perfect. And I hope next time that you're in LA, we can get an in studio interview with you. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but if ever in the chance in the future I could get you on here, we could talk more wrestling, more films. I would be honored to have Gypsy Mac in the cutting room as well. Again, in
Yeah,
person. Perfect. Perfect. Last question for you. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
that's a good question. I feel like the legacy I want to leave behind is, you're going to have people that don't want you to do something or people that are going to doubt you. And the legacy I want to leave behind is that I did it all no matter what. Whoever tried to stop me, any roadblock that I had, like Gypsy's a fighter and she's going to fight for what she wants and what she believes in.
That's a perfect legacy to leave. Speaking of Gypsy fighting, East Coast Lucha will be the next time you're in
East
LA.
Coast Lucha, December 22nd is the next one I'm there at.
I will be editing all these clips and everything. I'll be posting all that in our interview when I post it. Check it out. Go watch it live. It's
Yes.
you posted the poster on your Instagram.
Yep.
Do you want to give all your social media outlets anywhere they can find you to the fans right now?
Yeah. On Instagram, I'm on the Gypsy Mac. Twitter and TikTok is just Gypsy Mac. It's a little bit easier. And I'm also on Facebook if you want to follow me there too. I don't post as much. I'm more active on like Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect. And I will be actually, if all things come the way they should, I will be at East Coast Lucha that Christmas show to see you live again. And who are you wrestling that night?
I'm wrestling Delilah.
And you actually have a win over her in her home turf.
I do. At Santino Bros, I beat her. I'm very excited for this match. I wrestled her and her tag partner Barbie Boy at
Mhm.
East Los Lucha last time I was there.
You had
And I
also a
just,
partner in that match, correct?
yeah, my boyfriend, Dante King.
Check out Dante King and Gypsy Mac
Yes.
together. They have multiple matches together online. Great tag team. But I will be there live to check you guys. Oh, I'll be there live at the East Coast Lucha show to check you out to wrestle Delilah Doom. Would this be the strap match, third match between you guys?
It'd be the second singles match and then like the third match that we've had all together because with the tag match.
Perfect, perfect. And once again, I would like to thank you for coming on to the Cutting Room Podcast here with Damian King. I hope you enjoy the experience. I hope to have you on in the future as well. I appreciate it. I appreciate anybody that comes on and gives me the opportunity to interview them. Um, Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Nice, nice. And again, I like to. That'll be a wrap on the Cutting Room Podcast with Gypsy Mac. Find her on all the outlets on Instagram, TikTok. Check out her matches on YouTube. Check out all her upcoming shows, and that'll be a wrap today on the Cutting Room Podcast with Damian King. And always remember, pro wrestling is cinematic, and that's a wrap. Cut.